Hi, JamesAnimalHarrison. It's time for Sunday Stories. And today I'm going to talk about, I guess I'd say injuries. I'm going to do one specific story. A lot of people who know me well know that I'm an extreme golf advocate. I love golfing. Dave Wells got me turned on to it to a point where I became a golf addict. And so I enjoy playing. But years and years ago, I'm not sure exactly how many years at this point, but it's been probably 15 or more years ago, probably 17 years ago. I was golfing at Quail Hollow Golf Course in Boise, Idaho, one of my favorite courses. And one of the holes, it's on best way I can describe it, a big hillside. And then it drops off into a significant drop off of the green and goes down to where there's a pond. And I had hit the green, but I didn't hold it, so it rolled off. And it was still early enough in the morning that there was still water from sprinkler systems or what on the course. And I grabbed my putter and a lob wedge and probably a sand wedge or something, whatever it was. And I walked, because you couldn't drive over there, so I walked up and I looked down and I saw the ball about halfway down the hill. So I took one step and slipped, and I put my right hand back like that. I had the clubs in my left hand, I think. I put my hand back and I fell on my wrist. And I thought, oh, it really hurt, everything. I finished the round. That was 16, so it was only 2 holes left afterwards. But I could tell I had done something. And I iced it down when I got home and everything. And as I moved it, I just could feel this tremendous pain. So I went to like a local Walgreens and bought a brace for it to try to keep it immobile for a minute. And I would just ice it and put it in the brace, ice it and put it in the brace. And the next day, I just, man, this is killing me and whatever. So I went to the hospital and found out I had broken my wrist. And I could still move it and everything, but there was just a lot of shooting pain. And what happened was I chipped a bone and pushed it upward. So what they had to do was put my hand or wrist in a cast in this shape right here. So it wasn't straight. It was pushed back like that because they couldn't push the bone down, so they pushed the hand back to meet where the bone was for it to reattach. And then they put a cast on, and it went from like my elbow over my wrist and down. So these fingers were free, the thumb was free, but the wrist was locked into a position in the forearm all the way up to here. Now, when I went into the emergency room, they grabbed a stick here, and it's just slightly out of my reach. When I went to the emergency room, I took a drumstick in with me. And I said, hey, listen, I'm a drummer. I play. And I was playing 5 nights a week, 5 nights a week at the time. And I took in a cast. As they were building that cast, they started getting a little bit built up in here to make sure it was strong enough that I couldn't move my wrist. And the stick was clicking. I'm like, well, I need to be able to hold this stick. I have to play. Because I knew I couldn't move my wrist. So what I ended up doing, and I don't know if I can even do it right now, I locked it in and did that, and I held the stick here. And I had stolen that idea from Carmine Pete's because I had seen him do a clinic, and he would do a lot of stick tricks and spin, but he would play. Okay, so I used the middle finger a lot to develop that. I mean, actually, let's see if I got a pad here. I can do pretty well, just the finger. Now, obviously, the wrist is not in the same position it was, so it was more like I don't even know if I can do it at this point. But, so they told me it was going to be on there for 4 weeks. So for a month, I didn't miss a gig. I played every night I was supposed to play. I actually performed with the jazz big band in town called the Wind Machine at a big outdoor concert, and they did Channel 1 Suite of all things. So I did it with a cast on and all that. Now, if this eventually led to shoulder pain, I don't know. I ended up having shoulder surgery several years later. I don't think it was related, but it might have been the beginning of, because of me moving my arm around with that weight on it, creating a problem. Unfortunately, after the 4 weeks, they cut it off and it wasn't ready. So they had to put another one on, but they did it a lot smaller. They just basically went from here to here. And again, they let me take a stick in, and they made it a little bit more comfortable, but I still had to stay at that angle. So, but I didn't miss a gig. I played and whatnot, and eventually, like I said, years later, I ended up having a shoulder surgery because I started getting into, well, we'll just save that for another story. But anyway, the point is that you can, obviously, accidents happen and we run into injuries, be it, even if it's not an accident, it's carpal tunnel or any of that kind of stuff. I've never missed a gig. You know, I've thrown up on stage with a bucket between my legs while I've been playing before, because I've tried to always, you know, be that kind of person where the show goes on. I don't call in sick. I go. So anyway, that, I guess the point of the story is that, you know, I've always had that mentality that the show goes on. So if you can at all do it, do it. And I didn't let things like that stop me. I've done it. So the show goes on. Luckily, I have full use of my wrist and everything, and it's all been good. And with the golf and the drumming and whatnot. So the Sunday story is, you never know if you're going to be in an accident, but you know, if you're a drummer, take the stick with you when you go in. If they're building a cast around your arm, and maybe you can get it to work with you.